Not every game hooks you from the first minute. In fact, plenty masterpieces take time to reveal their true brilliance. A slow introduction, a confusing tutorial, or hours of setup can easily push players away long before the game finds its rhythm, kind of like a YouTube video. But for those who wait it out, these rocky intros eventually give way to unforgettable adventures and experiences so outstanding that they overshadow the shaky beginnings. These games prove that a rough start doesn't define the journey. Starting off at number 10 is Death Stranding. This game is a slow burn with a massive payoff. It starts with hours of slow walking and cryptic disconnected cutscenes, but opens up dramatically once traversal tools and vehicles become available. The opening of Death Stranding is infamous for its long cinematics, lonely stretches of empty terrain, and punishingly slow travel. For many players, those early hours feel more like a chore than an adventure, offering little clarity and even less excitement. But once the world expands and the new equipment becomes available, everything changes. Travels become smoother, systems begin to harmonize, and the story's strange fragments finally falls into place. What starts as a bizarre, abstract trek evolves into a daring and emotional journey unlike anything else in gaming. That is until Death Stranding 2 arrived, of course. And at number 9 is Red Dead Redemption 2. Known for its famous cold beginning, which transitions to a warm living world. Its long tutorial heavy prologue in the mountains certainly didn't help its cause, but it eventually opens up into one of the most immersive worlds ever created. The snowy introduction of Red Dead Redemption 2 restricts movements, limits freedom, and bombards players with tutorials, all while keeping them trapped in a cold and linear environment. It's a sharp contrast to the sprawling open world the game is famous for, but once players push through the initial slog, they are greeted with a breathtaking world full of unpredictable events, dynamic characters, and an emotional narrative that stands among the finest in gaming history. What starts as slow and confining becomes a masterpiece of storytelling and world building. And at number 8 is Persona 5, a stylish RPG with a heavy-handed start, lengthy tutorials, and a restrictive system. But it eventually blossoms into a deep, stylish, emotional RPG. Few games start as slow as Persona 5. The early game funnels players through tightly scripted scenes, limited activities, and constant expectations that make the world feel closed off. But once the story gains momentum, the game reveals its true identity, an ambitious and vibrant RPG with layered combat, deep customization, and storytelling that balances style with emotional weight. And by the time the credits roll, the early slog feels like a distant memory. And at number 7 is Kingdom Come Deliverance. Known for its harsh beginnings and rewarding growth, coupled with its brutally difficult early combat and powerless progression, its realistic growth makes every achievement feel meaningful. In Kingdom Come Deliverance, players truly start from the bottom. Combat feels clunky, skills are underdeveloped, and even a simple task can feel overwhelming. The early hours reflect the grueling reality of life in medieval Bohemia. But as characters train, grow, and gain experience, the game transforms into an impressively immersive medieval simulation. Systems interlock beautifully, exploration becomes rewarding, and the story unfolds naturally into a grounded yet powerful narrative. And sitting at number 6 is Yakuza 0. This is a slow setup before the madness arrives, filled with dialogue-heavy introductions with limited combat options. Later chapters unleash chaotic fights and unforgettable side stories. Yakuza 0 begins with tightly scripted chapters that focuses heavily on dialogue, story setup, and limited combat, which is far from the wild, unpredictable actions fans have come to expect. But once players unlock more moves, areas, and side stories, the game becomes a chaotic, hilarious, emotional playground. The narrative evolves into a gripping crime drama, and the side quests deliver some of the series' most iconic moments. At number 5 is Dragon's Dogma. Cursed with a forgettable opening that hides a phenomenal RPG due to its generic early quests and confusing systems, its later gameplay introduces incredible combat and an unforgettable narrative twist. The first hours of Dragon's Dogma feel like a standard RPG, basic combats, repetitive objectives, and nothing that stands out. But the deeper a player goes, the more extraordinary the game becomes. Combat transforms into a cinematic spectacle, enemy encounters grow massive immersive and intense, and the story takes a brilliant philosophical turn that redefines everything. Its unimpressive opening hides truly a special experience. And sitting at number 4 is Okami, a beautiful game buried under endless tutorials. Its overwhelming text and slow-paced instructions doesn't do it any good either, but it eventually opens up with a vibrant world filled with creativity and charm. Okami's opening tutorial is notoriously long. Constant interruptions and walls of text make it hard to appreciate its stunning hand-painted visuals, but once players move past the sluggish start, Okami becomes a rich and expressive action-adventure filled with clever puzzles, fluid combats, and gorgeous environments. And the emotional payoff at the end more than justifies the early drag. Moving away from Okami at number 3 is Driver. Driver starts with a tutorial so hard it nearly overshadows a classic. Known for its infamous difficult opening driving test and its ahead of its time mechanics and cinematic action, the garage tutorial in Driver is legendary for all the wrong reasons. It demands expert driving techniques with barely any instruction, and countless players never made it past this initial challenge. But for those who do, Driver reveals itself as a bold, innovative open-world driving game that helped define modern car chase gameplay. Its cinematic approach and realistic handling were groundbreaking for its era, making the brutal tutorial feel like an unnecessary barrier to a revolutionary title. And at number 2 is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, a game known for its slow walk before its giant leap and an overly structured introduction with basic encounters, but its masterful quest design emerges soon after the tutorial. The opening region for The Witcher 3 White Orchard keeps players tightly on rails, teaching mechanics slowly and presenting a simple storyline, which makes first-time players wonder where the hype is. But then the world opens, Velen and Novigrad introduces quests and branching stories with unforgettable characters and combat that feels increasingly creative. Once it hits its stride, The Witcher 3 becomes one of the most celebrated RPGs ever made. And holding down the number 1 spot is no other game than Assassin's Creed 3, a game famous for having a protagonist who arrives late but leaves a lasting mark. Hours pass before players take control of the actual main character. This game had massive battles and ambitious missions that gave the game a unique identity. Assassin's Creed 3 takes a bold risk by delaying the introduction of its main protagonist. The early focus on Haytham Kenway is intriguing but lacks the traditional Assassin's gameplay many players expect right away. But once the true story begins, the world opens up into an expansive frontier full of intense battles, large-scale missions, and memorable character arcs. Despite its slow start, Assassin's Creed 3 delivers one of the franchise's most ambitious and underrated experiences. Please, if you enjoyed this video, kindly hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell icon so you can get notified when I upload new videos like this, as I am desperately trying to hit 1K subscribers by the end of this year. And until next time, peace and love.
Incredible.